But we're not here for that. Shall we roll dice?
Yes, I was gonna say, are you comfortable with these banter levels? Did you just throw your dice across the room?
I can see it over there, but I don't trust it.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
I clicked out of the tab. Dumela, which is hello in Tswana, which is also Tswana. Let's see. Oh wait, there's the Tswana people, which are Bantu-speaking people. Wait a second. There we go. South Africa. Southern Africa, not South Africa. I don't know. There are a lot of old pictures on this Wikipedia page. But welcome. That segment was a lot shorter because I actually had everything up for once.
Yes, prepared. It's almost like we've done, what would this be now?
132.
132 episodes of this now. You think we'd be prepared.
Gross.
Who would have thought? We started out with me drinking a little bit during the day to come and join the podcast in the afternoon and live streaming it. So now here we are on your favorite podcast places and YouTube.
And Spotify.
Well, I included that in favorite podcast places.
I know. I keep forgetting that they have podcasts on Spotify.
I've listened to a few, but not too many. Yeah,
I listened to the beginning of one.
Nice. Where do you listen
ours.
to your D&D podcasts?
Podcast Addict.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah. So, I don't know. One of these days, maybe I'll upgrade to a different thing, but I don't know. I need to find a service that will allow me to transfer my Wikipedia, my podcast subscriptions from phone to phone.
Oh, that's fair.
So, trying to think if there's any fun stories that we can share
before we jump into Alien Prequel Part 2, David Boogaloo.
Yes. Oh man, I can't think of anything right now, but my brain is also thinking of multiple other things, like fish.
Specifically fish. We can bring that into the podcast. We can bring up why we talked about fish when we first met this morning. It kind of fits in the scheme of how we feel about these movies.
I guess so. I was trying to think if there's anything else. A lot of the stuff, there's just a lot of thoughts about the movie in general.
That's fair. We can jump right in.
No, this is weird.
Well, I know
I hate change.
Last episode, I let us get distracted for 20 minutes. But we are on a bit of a time thing.
What did we get distracted with last week?
I don't remember, but I just remember you saying, "Oh, we ran long because we talked a bit for 20 minutes," and I was like, "You're not wrong, but I can't." It's completely left my brain. Whatever we opened with last week.
I think I've just become I've become a little bit of aware of just how pre-show banter goes, because I'm less than a month away from releasing this other show I've been working on, and some of the episodes are under an hour. And one of the episodes, because I'm okay, well, let's get to know the players as we're getting into the game. And I think it's the third or fourth episode. It's the third episode where there's 15 minutes of banter and then 30 minutes of gameplay. And I'm the banter is a third of the episode. And it's funny because I call it out in between the thing. And I was in our next recording thing, the banter I think is under 10 minutes. And so
I guess this has just been a quiet week for us then. No crazy stories.
That's not according to my text message. We got noise complaints.
Well, I wasn't involved with that.
You could be. I can turn you off my headphones.
Just have me scream laughing about, why did they do this in this movie?
Yes, and just blast it to everybody. Speaking about headphones, I've been thinking, I was like, you know what? I think the next headphones I get, I think I still like these style headphones for like games and stuff, but I'm like, been thinking, I was like, for like recording podcast stuff, I'm like, I wonder if there's like some decent like earbud style things. Because I'm like, because you have the earbuds, right?
These are cheapo earbuds that I just found lying around my house.
Yeah. It's like, I don't have any of those, just, but I'm like,
oh, they match my nails.
Fancy.
And if you're an audio listener and are curious, you can check it out on Spotify or YouTube, where we have video podcasts.
Woohoo!
And if you're already on those, hello.
I think the color of your nails and headphones were the same color as one of my first cell phones.
It also kind of matches my mic LEDs.
At the moment, don't they change color?
Hey, I have it cycling between purple and blue.
Still missing mixer.
It's unfortunate that these are my favorite colors, but this is my favorite feature. So I can tell when I'm muted.
Yep, and if anyone wanted to know on the audio format, she just pet her mic.
No, just a little pat.
She booped the snoot.
Yeah, I booped the snoot. Like, shh, no talking.
Yeah. But now, I was thinking about getting earbuds or just something like, I just thought plug into my ears, but like pretty much something less of this, so that like, because I'm like, I like the aesthetic of how that looks, but I don't know how much I would like it.
Yeah, I feel like some gaming companies started coming out with earbuds because people, like, I know people with glasses tend to find the over ears can be uncomfortable after a long time, depending on how it fits. I just haven't done much research myself.
I thought I remembered one, and I'm just like, okay. Interesting. I would trust these guys because I was thinking about getting their thing. I don't know if I want to drop brands.
If you want your brand name said in our podcast, email us at discoursepointless@gmail.com. I don't remember how we ended up with that email, but that's our email. Or DM us at twitter.com/pointlessdisco. Pointless Disco.
Pointless Disco.
As
Discourse Pointless as our email is because Pointless Discourse was already taken.
Darn. But I was going to say, to quote one of my favorite commentary YouTubers, Jarvis Johnson, always be plugging.
Alright, well, let's go plug some other people's content. Alien Covenant.
Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott didn't have to pay for a spot on this podcast. We willingly jumped into his universe.
Yep. Just to watch next week's movie again.
I will gladly watch Alien.
You know, okay, hold up. I just remembered one thing right now that I can't remember if I mentioned it. If I did, be like, Itisdpayne, you already said this. But, like, I'm realizing, I think I said this on stream, but I don't think I said this to you yet or on the podcast.
Okay.
But I'm realizing that I think our friendship is influencing me in ways I wasn't expecting. Because the weather got slightly cold, and I was like, it's time to watch Over the Garden Wall.
I started watching it the other day. I was tired, and I was like, I want to put on something, but I don't want to start something new. And I was like, oh, you know what's good? Over the Garden Wall. And Strider was like, it's not Halloween yet. Or no, he's like, it's not fall yet. I was like, it's it's middle of September. It's fine.
It's got the feels, dude. Leave me alone.
And I remember I was in a downtown area about a week ago, and I went, sometimes if I see a cafe, I'll just stop in and get myself like a little fancy drink, because like I know some people get Starbucks every day, but I work from home, so it's more of a treat when I go and get myself a drink. So I went to the cafe, and they're like, would you like that hot or ice? And I was like, hot. I can pretend it's fall. And she's like, it's like 80 degrees out. And I was like, shh, shh, shh. I have a long sleeve shirt on, and I'm getting a hot drink. It's fall now.
If I wanted commentary, I would go on to YouTube. Now make my drink.
Oh, wait. No, yes. Alien is next. Sorry. For some reason, I scrolled too far, and it was like Aliens. I was like, why would you watch Aliens before Alien?
Because we already watched Alien last year.
I've watched Alien, I think, once a year for the past 3 years, so that's fine by me.
2 of them for the podcast. Yeah. I don't know. The thing is, it wasn't even the middle of fall. It was like, or like in the middle of September. I think it was like the first week of September. My head's like, I think it may have been last week or something when like the weather at least, well,
when it
we
dipped.
were close enough. Yeah, and I'm like, I kind of watch it over the garden wall right now.
Yes, we
Did
love
I?
fall.
No, I haven't.
I think I watched
Yes.
I think I finished the first episode and I was just letting it autoplay, and then somebody came over to use the TV and I was just like, okay, goodbye pumpkins.
Bye, Enoch.
Enoch didn't introduce himself yet. It was still at the point where I think they paused it right when Enoch started talking, because I love this scene where you have the pumpkin person carving the pumpkin and then slowly turn their pumpkin head. And Beatrice is like, is anybody else creeped out?
That Over the Garden Wall would make a really fun, like, medium-sized, like, either D&D or like Call of Cthulhu campaign.
There's a lot of fun NPCs they could write a lot about.
Yeah. No, that's like the other part of my brain right now, thinking about a whole bunch of other stuff, because I'm like, as Hop knows, for being a friend of mine for many years and working on many projects with me, brain goes big possible thing, and my brain went to big possible thing for a project I'm working on. So I'll just share more about that if things come to fruition. But still, it's like my brain is thinking a lot of NPCs and creating and stuff. It is in the tabletop role playing world. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll share it with you if I remember after the podcast or sometime later.
Okay.
Because that would be another 10-minute explanation, I think, of what this actually is. But we're not here for that. Shall we roll dice?
Yes, I was gonna say, are you comfortable with these banter levels? Did you just throw your dice across the room?
I can see it over there, but I don't trust it.
It's not on the table. It doesn't count. That's the rule.
Good.
Because I also rolled really low, but I also kind of want to be the one that talks about it this week. But it's up to you.
Oh, I don't want that number. That was an 18. Good thing it was on the floor. Let's see. You know what? These dice have been ruining it for me. So let's get a new one.
Did you buy new dice?
No, I just got a bag full of dice I never opened.
Ah.
Let's see.
Was it one of the PAX Unplugged deals?
I can't remember. Hey.
Because I am always tempted at PAX Unplugged. They're like, however many dice fit in this cup for $5.
I haven't done that. This was a PAX Unplugged.
The big boy?
Oh, no, this was East. It's maybe a PAX Unplugged. I'm trying to... Well, actually, that was one of the things I meant to mention before we went on recording. And so I was like, you know what? I'll wait for that afterwards, because that still hasn't been confirmed. Okay, here we go. I'm rolling my dice. Oh, a 3.
I rolled a 4.
I also rolled a 1d4.
Because I was going to say, since you talked about Prometheus, is it cool if I talk about Covenant?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me roll.
To see what the dice dictate.
Oh, my goodness. I got a 3 again.
On a D20?
On a D20.
Oh, boy. All right. So I guess it was meant to be.
There we go. Yep. Okay. Good. We didn't have to lie twice in this podcast.
Did you say twice?
Well, I was thinking of overall.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we ever lied about dice rolls. I'm trying to think if there's anything that, I don't know. There's 131 episodes.
There's a chance. There's a possibility.
I probably said something. Been like, yeah, Itisdpayne, that's a good idea to myself. Was it?
We'll never know. Well, unless you're a loyal listener and you can yell at us. Yep. You should yell at us. It does make us laugh.
Yep.
do call us out on anything. But yes, so banter levels seem to be up to your standards. Yes.
Oh wow, we're already at 15 minutes.
I'll take that as a yes. Okay, so Alien Covenant, the direct sequel to Prometheus, which are both prequels to Alien. So let's keep that in mind because it matters in why and opinions of this movie. So the movie, like I said, I was saying to Dpayne before we started recording, the movie is fine. In itself, it's a pretty good movie. If you just like watching sci-fi movies, it's a good movie. If you care a lot about lore and connections and why things were made, it's not such a good movie. It could be a better movie, but it's a movie. Yes. So it opens up. In the introduction, we're introduced to David on his birthday, I guess.
Was it his birthday?
Well, his literal day of birth. Because
Yeah.
Because you have him waking up in a blank white room, and I think it's the same actor for Old Man Wayland, just without the old makeup, who's talking to him.
I can look that up.
Yeah, but who's talking to him and is checking, are you awake? Are you cognizant? What do you see around you? And then he goes, my name is David, after looking at the, what's that statue called?
David.
Oh, I didn't know if it had any other title to it, but it's just David.
I think it's just a statue of David. Hold on, I wrote a note on this. What did I wrote? Oh yeah, he's really named after the marble statue.
That's what I thought too.
And then my first line was, "Oh, it's David."
Yeah, and then they basically explain the plot of Prometheus. So I put a little pin here for myself. Basically, they expect you to have watched Prometheus to watch this movie, right? Because it's a direct because if you watch this, then Prometheus, it's all spoiled. But then watching Prometheus before this almost spoils this movie. Because I was talking to Strider, I was like, it's the same villain. He was like, yeah, a lot of movie series have the same villain. I'm like, no, it is literally the same villain. He's like, wait, one for one, it's the same person? I was like, it is literally the same guy. So, so it makes for the plot twists and stuff like that for me to feel kind of flat, because you're like, it's David. It's going to be David.
You know it's
always David.
You know it's going to be David, but at the same time, it's like...
They did ramp him up quite a bit.
Yeah, like... Oh, man. I wonder if Covenant would have been interesting coming first and then going back to the Prometheus.
It could have been a really interesting angle, because then it's more of a... You don't understand David, right? If you just watch Covenant, David doesn't make sense. He just seems crazy. And then if you watch Prometheus afterwards, it would be like, oh, David still is just crazy.
Yeah.
He just has some, I don't know how to put it. But in either case, so we're introduced to that. And then it immediately flashes forward to us being on a new ship called Covenant in the year 2104.
They're the same thing. Oh, wait, I had one thing I wanted to
same
write.
Actor.
Yeah, the same actor for Wayland. There's one thing I wanted to put in here, which I wanted to take a screenshot and send this to you. But what I'm going to write, I'm not going to write in the same way. I'm not going to say in the same way I wrote it.
Okay.
Because what I'm going to read right now is first reactions, and it's all in caps. No, I don't want more finding out who made what with a side of toppings. It's only been 5 minutes.
Perfect. I have some notes that I wrote.
Will it show up? There it is.
No.
So.
Yeah, I have a couple notes for myself. This movie, unfortunately, I think it's because we just watched Prometheus, like, within such a short period of time. But so much of this movie to me felt predictable. Like, even beyond the fact that it's David. But, like, I don't know, the cues in the movie were very obvious. But anyway. So we're on the ship called Covenant. So, on Prometheus. Alright, last movie, we were on Prometheus. Now we're on... and Prometheus was more of like a excavation exploration ship.
Mhm.
Covenant is an actual terraforming.
Yeah.
It's a colony looking to go to a planet to be able to settle on a physical planet, not Earth.
I would
And it's
also
10
like to.
years later?
Yes. I was doing the math, and I think I missed when they actually called the ship Covenant because I was just sitting there, and I didn't realize until like the middle of the movie when they're running there and they have the shirts just saying Covenant on there. I'm like, oh, that's the name of the ship.
They did the same thing. It's the same thing they did in Prometheus, where
Yeah.
they just had the little text pop up on the while they were zooming into the ship.
Yeah, I saw the date and I immediately started looking up when did Prometheus happen, and then they answer that question for you later in the movie. But
Yeah.
but still, it was like, because mainly I think at that point I was like, that's not very far away. Shaw could still be alive.
We'll fill in that silence later. And then while you're on Covenant, you get to meet not David, I mean Walter. And it's our first introduction to Mother. And I think Mother is confusing to people if you're not familiar with the franchise at all.
Oh my goodness. I realized they were talking to Mother, but at the same time, like I didn't even think of it because I'm used to it.
Yeah. But Mother is an AI on the ship, which is a bigger... I think they do a better use of Mother in Alien, the original Alien. Mother in this is kind of just equivalent to saying like, hey Siri or hey Alexa. Sorry if you listen to this on speaker.
Oh wait, hold on. Okay, Google. Okay, there we got everything.
Yeah, you covered all the bases.
Oh wait, Alexa.
Oh, I did forget to say that one.
I don't
Did
know
I?
how you get Alexa's attention. I don't have any of these things. Like all my voice commands are shut off on my phone.
The phone commands on my phone are shut off, but in my car I do use Google because I have Android Auto, and then someone did give me an Echo for free, so I just really use the Echo as a speaker system. So if I'm washing dishes and I can't like start music, I'll be like, play this for me, so that I have something to do while I'm doing dishes. But okay, so then on the Covenant, we're told that there are like 2,000 civilians, and I forgot how many embryos, but then you have Walter checking
Baker's
in.
dozen.
Baker's dozen. You have Walter checking in on everybody. And then while he's like cleaning up one of the embryos, then Mother is like, emergency protocols, bad things are happening. And then everybody wakes up and starts puking. And then I had to pause a lot at this scene because when I paused, Amazon Prime said one of the characters is played by James Franco. I was like, oh, they paid James Franco money. I wonder what kind of role he has. His role is to get
on fire.
His role immediately. Oh, spoilers. His role.
Yes. Big old spoilers. Okay. Woo. Okay.
His role in the movie is to be spontaneous, like be
Just set on fire.
just set on fire.
Didn't know that was possible for those sleeping pods.
And then I was sitting there, I was like, no way they paid the money for him to just, oh, okay, they paid for James Franco to just...
I would. That's
And then...
like, if I was famous, I'd take a role like that. It's like, man, I don't have to show up for, like, a day.
Yeah, because the only other thing he filmed was, like, flashback video to say, hey, babe, I miss you. Come climb on this mountain with me. As she's being sad.
Yeah.
And another popular theme I noticed with these, I'll bring it up later, but everyone is, like, paired off immediately.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So
They're paired off and also separated at the same time.
Then we have we cut to everyone trying to get...
Sorry to go to but was everyone puking when the emergency wake up thing was happening? Because like I thought like everyone was more like if there were people were puking, it was like
it was a quick scene of so the crew was woken up. And the crew that woke up, like they were like very much like in Prometheus, where like half of them were like puking and the other half were like consoling people. But all the civilians stayed in their upright hanging pods.
Yeah. It was like the crew that woke up, like to the main crew that run the ship. It's like, because I didn't see anyone puking. I could have just missed it because
They
it was
did
just
one of those like fast pans where it was like people crawling out of the sleeping pods, and then by the time they crawled out and they panned back, they're like, "Oh God, it's on fire! Get him out!"
Yeah. Well, like they seem to recover a whole lot faster than they normally do, and which is where I wrote, they should wake more people up like this. Like, no one is puking everywhere; they're just dying.
They're just literally dying.
Also, the other thing I wrote, because we're not introduced to Walter's name yet in this one, is oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think we're introduced to it by her going, "Walter, get him out!"
Yeah, which is I think that's when I was like, oh yeah. I also had Amazon spoil his name, so I knew it wasn't David. But there's other things that I think I want to bring up when. Well, we said David's in the movie. When Walter and David meet, there's things like, I think there's some neat things to talk about, just pretty much playing the same role but different. But as I wrote, great, David's twin is already doing creepy science garbage because he's like, and then it's like, oh wait, no, that's his. They did that on purpose
to try and trick you. Yeah, because he's checking in on the embryos and dealing with the ones that are not healthy. Like, he has a little biohazard container that he's dropping them into and everything like that.
But yeah.
Okay. So then we have everybody, typical sci-fi spaceship thing where everyone gathers into a central meeting place. And you have the replacement captain not sure how to handle his new responsibilities.
Oh, hold on. There's one more thing that is important to mention that happens right before. I believe it happens right before this, when it shows her kind of like mourning, like main girl mourning her husband's death as she's watching this stuff. She gets her own necklace.
Yes.
Which is a nail.
Well, I think it's supposed to be a necklace she made from his climbing pittance, because the videos of him like climbing some mountain face.
I always imagine pittance to be bigger.
I don't know what else it would have been.
Like like with you saying that, I totally agree. But like in my head, I was like,
I don't think, or maybe pitten isn't the right word, but it might be something he used for like the ropes and not necessarily like for him to stand on, but just to pin the ropes to the mountainside. Yep.
To where my comment on that is like, oh, just like the last movie, she's got her own special necklace now.
Well, at least it was interesting that they keep putting the same characters into the movies, because like with her haircut and everything, I was like, is this Ripley 2.0, 3.0?
3.0. It's like, man, you know what, if it works, like, why rewrite characters? Just tweak them.
Just tweak them. So we have them all meeting up. I think this happens. It might be happening at the same time, because she does show up late to the meeting.
Yeah, I think this scene happens before, and then it goes into the meeting, because like then this is like the sign of like everyone's kind of paired off a little bit, because we learn a little bit about the guy who has to be captain.
Yeah, so he's clearly nervous. A lot of people don't really like his direction, and he's trying to just move forward and get the ship up and running, but everyone's like, we need to do a memorial. He was our captain. We need to like do something. He's like, no, and then he does the really dramatic, if we don't fix the ship right now, we're all dying. But then they clearly have a vigil anyway, and it took 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I was like, I could not understand, but like I kind of like this like the guy who has to fill in the captain. I liked his role because because they're like,
he's believable.
Yeah, he's believable. But then I was just like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, when faith is their driving factor, especially in movies, it's like, oh well, he's gonna go crazy, like with his faith and everything. And there's parts in the movie later where it's just like, no.
I am curious if they purposely wrote him to be the opposite of the Prometheus characters.
Yeah, it's like,
because Elizabeth Shaw was very much into faith, as was Wayland. But they had different types of faith, right? Wayland believed in the engineers being good people.
Well, to give him immortality.
Yeah, but he thought he could talk to them and say, like, hey, I know you made me. Can you blah, 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 blah. And then Shaw was still religious because, like you said, her necklace, she held on to her necklace. But it was interesting that they did bring up faith with the captain, but I feel like they almost didn't do enough with it. They just were like, oh, you hate me because I have faith. And I was like, nobody mentioned.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like there's, like, for some of this movie, like, I think Covenant, like, I think we said this last week, where I think an alien TV show would be really interesting. I think a show like Covenant, or, like, based on, like, a show that had Covenant based in it, where it's just like, hey, here's the crew, like, before, and all that stuff goes, like, where did that line come from? And
yeah, it would have been a lot nicer, because then they vaguely bring up his faith closer to the end of the movie, and I, at that point, with how he was acting and the situation, I was like, I honestly completely forgot.
Yeah, but, like,
which is not for better or worse. It was just, oh right, that is your character.
Yeah, I think it's a lot in sci-fi movies in general, when it's like the person is put into, like, a captain role like that, with not like he was like the captain died and now he has to step up, and he's just like, oh man, I gotta be, like, super strict and rah, and, like, and all this stuff, and he, like, becomes unbearable and becomes the villain, which I guess it helps that, like, no, we already got a villain, but I like his character arc, where he's just like, and then his wife is just like, dude, chill out, and then he's like, okay, and then other circumstances where he definitely could have gone off the deep end.
The character writing, I think, was a lot better in this than Prometheus, all things considered. And then, and during the conversation where he's trying to get everyone rallied together, he mentions that they're going to Origai 6, which is a terraformed planet. And then I also believe it gets mentioned because the main protagonist is talking through, you know, the hopes and dreams that she wanted to have with her, I wanted to say crispy husband, but that seems disrespectful.
Yeah. He was at least well done.
Yeah, he was. But because they're preparing an airlock to send him away, and I wrote to myself, note to self, remember the airlock.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't it. Never mind.
But
more like note to self, remember truck?
Yeah, but I couldn't help but laugh at the animation they used to launch the body into space. I don't know.
I loved when they launch anything out into space, because it's always the same shot. It's always from the inside, and then it's like shook, and it goes out, and then it transfers to the outside, and it's just like
barely moving. But I don't know, something about a body that's like kind of flailing and then suddenly just stops and is just floating was very comedic to me. Again, I laughed a lot during this movie, and I know it was not the intention of the movie, and it wasn't because the movie was bad. It just felt like an interesting direction, but I'll bring it up later. But let's see. So after they say their goodbyes to their previous captain, they start doing their duties per the new captain. One of those is fixing one of these energy. Do you remember the word for them? It was like fabric meant
curtain. Yeah, I can't remember, but it was pretty much. I think they have something similar today, but
it's meant to charge things via solar, but it's huge because the reaches they are in space doesn't really get that much light. So one of the things broke, which was part of the emergency thing, because there was like a random solar activity that caused the distress on the ship in the first place. So
there's one other thing that I wrote that I said, like, oh man, you'll like what I wrote here, because I think this happened. Well, in my notes, it happens right before the event that happens with the fixing the curtains, because this is like, at this point we see Walter walking around and everything, and besides the intro, like with David in there, Walter seems to be the milk bot that we talk with, and we're seeing everything. To where I wrote, man, I really hope there's a David/Walter showdown.
I did write that later. I didn't write it yet.
I I don't know. I wrote it very early on. I'm just like, man, I hope that happens. That sounds fun. But anyway.
Yes. So while they're out fixing this repair, they're floating back in, and the character named Tennessee picks up a rogue signal on his helmet. And it's all too convenient because that's how it works in sci-fi movies. So
was it really random?
So the signal is loosely the John Denver song Country Roads, which of course Tennessee recognizes, and everyone's like, what's going on, T? And he's like, you guys don't know John Denver? I was like, okay.
I wrote,
did this come out the same?
I wrote Fallout 76 promos made it all the way out here.
That's what I was gonna ask. But then
did that song go like free use and that's why everyone used it?
I don't know. Then they find out that the signal is coming from a planet that happens to be more habitable than Origai 6 and is like a week away instead of 7 years away. And I wrote, sounds good, too good to be true. And the main female protagonist goes, this is too good to be true. I'm your second. Don't do this. So again, she felt very much like Ripley, where she was, is this the right idea? Do you really think we should do this? I think we shouldn't do this. And I wrote, I wrote Daniels, which is her name, is thinking with more than one brain cell. Let's go. But no one else. Oh, and I said, but nobody else is thinking with more than one brain cell, because they go, you know what? Let's land on this planet. Who cares if there's a giant storm coming? Let's go in on it.
I thought it wasn't a storm. I thought it was like kind of a Venus situation where it had like this, like it had the storm as is atmosphere. At least that's what I thought. Oh, is that
the understanding of it?
I thought that's what it was. Like, that's why they didn't go down. And like, okay, well, we can't get full scans of the planet, so like, let's go down. Okay. Well, they were able to scan the planet because they had all the information on it. That's anyway. It's like,
if you think too hard about it,
but like
get
that's
upset.
Yeah, but like that's why I thought they had to go down the way they did, because it's like the storm, like it was kind of like Venus is like that, where it's got this cloud storm coverage over
just
it all the time,
just constantly spinning. Yeah,
and so they so like if they were gonna go down, which thinking about it, it's like they're like, oh man, we can definitely make this thing there, but it's just like, okay, our ship can go down, but how are they going to transport everyone down on that one little
they're going to
dude?
take like 500 trips, taking like 5 people at a time down. But yeah, and then I also wrote they're surprised they lost comms, because even if they wanted to say it was kind of like a Venus-like planet, they still recognize that it's not clear atmosphere for them to work with. But the movie only works because they lose communications. Moving on.
Yeah.
Any other notes before we go into them looking at the planet itself?
No, my next note is them looking at the planet. So go ahead.
Okay. So then I wrote my next plot arc is visiting the mystery planet. I wrote, note to self, is this the planet from the intro Prometheus? I don't think it is.
No, they kind of confirmed that later.
Yeah, but I was just like, this is a lot of waterfalls. And I remember
at the start. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just at the very beginning. I was like, and I remember a lot of waterfalls where the first man we meet, or not man, we meet, is taking the uh-ohs.
The biggest boy.
The biggest boy. And then I wrote, oh boy, they found human vegetation very far from Earth. I wonder why. Because in the landing party, I don't remember all of their names. There's quite a few of them, but they find wheat.
They don't last long.
Some longer than others, but yeah, they find wheat and they go, it is weird that we found cultivated vegetation so far from Earth. Yeah. And they
Daniels is like, this ain't good.
Yeah. It's too quiet. And as you said, they're kind of going around going, ooh, look at this landscape, look at this water, so pretty. And I was just like, I don't know, guys, this doesn't give me a good feeling. And then I wrote, they slowly start separating the party. Because you have, I forget her name, but the one that's married to Tennessee, which I don't think it's revealed to you yet, but the captain of the smaller ship, she's stays behind.
The pilot, I think.
The pilot, sorry, yeah, of the smaller ship stays behind to do repairs because it got beat up during the storm. She says, I forget.
The IMDb.
Yeah, she brings up two things that have issues, but the main one that she's working on is trying to boost the comm signal because everything's kind of like half messages between Covenant and the landing party. And then they separate the party further, and they have a pair that stay behind to do ecology studies to kind of like pull from the planet to figure out, mud, water, all the different components.
Well, there's some people that have names, and then there's other people that don't. Like, there's just random mercenary people. Like, you're just here to die. Like, they probably have names, but
I know the captain is Orim or Oriam.
Yeah.
Did you find the IMDb?
I found the IMDb, but it's just like I'm having a hard time like putting it together, like without like their pictures. Like, it has their headshots from the film.
Oh, okay.
And so like let's see. Yeah, Orem was the captain.
Daniels is the female protagonist.
Yeah, Daniels. Tennessee is Danny McBride. Lope is
Lope is I think they call him Lope. He's the one that discovers the wheat, and later on,
Kareen is
Orem's wife.
Orem's wife. Upworth is Rick's wife, and they're pretty much on the ship. They're with Tennessee. Ferris was Tennessee's wife. Yeah.
Hallett was kind of just around, and so was Anchor and
Lenward. Yeah, those, and Cole. Pretty much everyone on the bottom list of this thing was just like, okay, they were there.
I don't remember who Rosenthal was. Is she the one that was in the landing party? Yes, she's the one in the landing party. She comes up later.
Oh yeah, she was like, I don't know. She was like one of those things like, yeah, she was there.
Yeah, she was there. Okay, so then so they separate the party out in this way. So you have Kareen and Ledward separate and go to kind of collect samples, and they said to have Ledward with her so she wasn't alone. Ferris stayed behind on her own to work on the ship, and then the rest of the party runs into something familiar.
Babies.
Ship.
Before they ran into something familiar, the thing that I thought was really interesting about the humans of this compared to a few of the other alien things is like in the other alien movies, like it's either like miners, like for Alien 1. They're
with an E, like people that are actively mining, not children.
Oh, yes. I was like, E-miners? What? In Prometheus, they were scientists and explorers. In Aliens, they're soldiers. And that's as far as I remember. But in this one, I thought it was just interesting that they were colonists. And like they were just like as they were coming down, like they weren't looking at the planet like how they did in Prometheus, where like everything had to be cataloged and searched and scanned and like it needs an explanation. It was more like it felt, I guess, a little bit more connectable as an audience member, because it's just like, wow, this is big wheat, this is cool, and it's like that's a little weird, but it's just like, no man, that's pretty cool. Like, who knows if we would have get that? And it's just like, oh man, imagine over here, like we can clear this out and like there will be a super mall. I don't remember what he actually says, but it's just like I just remember he says access to fresh water or something like that. Yeah, but like how he was just talking about, and like how everyone was just like, oh man, and over here we can put this thing, and like, and just like the way they were talking about like there, it wasn't like, a lot of the other movies where it's just, like, we get to the like Prometheus is a good example because I don't want to misquote other movies, but it's just like they get on the planet and they're just like, okay, we're here to do work. An Alien, they're like, we're at this planet and we're here to answer a distress signal. In Prometheus, in Covenant, they're like, we landed here mainly because we thought, hey, we could get to what we actually want to do.
Well, they also are on a rescue mission as well.
Oh yeah, they were. Well, they were answering the call. Well,
it was a two-parter. They go, well,
no,
I guess
it was
less so rescue mission.
Yeah,
but
I think it was more
so,
like, why is John Denver playing in the middle of space? And
yeah, let me correct. They're like, oh, humans? Question mark.
Yeah, and they're like, okay,
because the main party is looking for the source of the signal.
Yeah,
while they're also looking, can we live here?
Mm-hmm. And so, and like that's the thing. Like I know what we said earlier is just like Daniels is thinking with like 2 brain cells, while everyone else is just like whatever. But like I do think they give a really good point. Was like no one wants to get back in the pods because they literally just saw their captain get barbecued, and it's like, you know what? Out of most reasons why let's go to planet because we don't want to go back in the thing, I think that's a pretty good reason.
That's a pretty decent reason.
Like it's like that feels. I would feel the same about that. Like they need a traumatic experience to make them feel safe to go back in the pods, and that's what that planet anyway. But yes, they found something familiar.
The ship. And they go, what is this? And as a viewer, if you watch Prometheus, you go, oh, it's the ship. And they're like, I don't know, a vessel? And I'm like, I know it's not the same vessel, but I guess all of their ship. I mean, I guess it makes sense that all of the ships from the Prometheus movie would be like what they all look like. Because, we're meant to believe that civilization has, quote unquote, peaked, right? Mm-hmm. So then they start exploring that, and while they explore that, you have Kareen's buddy Ledward is like, I'm gonna go pop a squat, and while popping a squat, kicks a plant, and the plant weasels its way into his ear.
There's one thing that I saw in my notes that I thought was would just also like be funny to mention, which is there's so many I think every guy in this movie, like as their wife is going to wherever or something, there's just like they're all like pointing out, hey, don't you mess with my hot wife. No, don't mess with my wife. And it's just like Tennessee says it, just like oh man, that was like a really strange like.
Oh yeah, because on the way down, Tennessee is like making sexual comments, and then his wife is like making comments back, and I was just like, is this banter? Is this fun?
Does Ridley Scott need to at least have one of these in his movies?
But I was gonna say, I don't remember Prometheus being like having one-liners about sex and things. This one also felt a lot more sex-driven than the other movies. I mean, that comes in much later. But yeah. Because like Predator, I was used to them doing the whole like sexualized comments. I wasn't so used to it in Alien.
Yeah, I guess in Prometheus they just did it.
And it was just a fade screen where they like made out.
Yeah. But
and
yeah.
Even the other scene where the other two pair off, they're just like, oh yeah, that one had a terrible one-liners, but they didn't make comments on each other's body directly. They were just like, you want to be with me? Meet me in my room in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Or are you a robot? Let's find out in 10 minutes.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was in there. Yeah, and as you said, like you kicked the plant life, and that's I said, well, I can't wait to see what plant monster random gunman becomes.
So then after this, then we have it jumps back to the main crew on the ship because we don't have the symptoms settle in yet for Ledward. His name makes me laugh. I was like, Edward with an L, Ledward. Then you have, I forget what the other one's name is, but he also happens to touch a plant because he's curious as they're boarding the ship.
Is that Hallett?
That one might be Hallett.
Because I'm just looking at their headshots and I'm like, I think that is what he looked like. Here, I could just click his name on the IMDb and it'll show me. Yes.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. They did a really good job not showing any spoilers.
So we have Hallett, who breathes in some of the same plant material and it goes into his nose. So then we have everyone starts looking through the ship, and on the ship they have a lot of callbacks to Elizabeth Shaw. They find her dog tags, and they also find a framed photo of her and her what was his name in the last movie? Is it Hackett?
Yes, Hackett.
Hackett. And then they stumble upon David's favorite rooms, where if you touch a button, then it starts to replay the past.
Squishy buttons.
Squishy buttons. And then that's where you hear Shaw singing the What Tennessee Heard, Country Roads.
Yeah. How did he convince her to play that? There's... Oh, wait, hold on. I think I'll write that later. So anyway, yeah, go ahead.
You still good?
Yeah, no, I am good. I was just like, there was something about Shaw that, like, I remember when I was watching it, I was like, wait a second. But that doesn't come up till later.
Okay. And then we have Ledward's symptoms start kicking in. So we have super dramatic trip to the med bay where they say, don't touch anything. And they touch everything. I really did appreciate Ferris's character in this scene, because the whole time, when they said we follow protocol, Ferris followed protocol, and Ferris is a pilot and not a doctor. So Ferris was doing the best she could for the resources she had. So essentially we have Karine is trying to help carry Ledward back, but Ledward is acting very much in the way that Hackett did in Prometheus.
But faster.
But much faster. Very pale, coughing up a lot of blood. That's like... It was like black blood, right? That he coughed up.
I couldn't remember, but
it
there's
was very
a lot.
shiny. Yeah,
there was a lot of it. Yeah,
he was coughing up a lot, very pale, very much in pain, and writhing around, and could hardly hold himself up. And they get him into the med bay, and Ferris tries to help and assist. So she helps like take his shirt off because he's like, there's something's protruding from his back, and then you start to see stuff like stick out of his spinal area that looks really painful. And I was like, wow, they really invested in the body gore on this one.
Yeah. So I have to ask, which do you think is worse, a back burster or a chest burster? They're both terrible. I'm trying to think.
I think the worst one is the one that's coming up, but we'll get there.
Yes, yeah, that one.
But between a chest and back, I would say chest is probably worse, because I would imagine the back one you might die faster from the breaking of your spinal cord and the spinal fluid spilling as it cracks through, versus the chest burster, it might not puncture your vital organs on its way out.
Yeah, like, I don't know, it normally comes out right where your
heart but it breaks out
yeah.
from the rib cage, so I don't know if it's going through the organs or sitting on top of them and then
yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things, like, either way, I'm trying to think what would be less painful, and they both look terrible.
They both look terrible,
but I would agree, back out the entrance is not the way I would want it to happen.
So then Ferris, in her freaking out, she locks Karine and Ledward in the med bay as she tries to call to Tennessee, and she's like freaking out, which freaks out Tennessee because he says that his wife is never scared of anything, so he really wants to help her. Whether or not that means 2,000 plus people die, Tennessee could not care less. But anyway, Tennessee, who is de facto captain of the rest of the civilians, is doing his best to try and get closer and closer because he's scared and worried. But then they keep saying the storm is too bad, the storm is too bad, the storm is too bad, because it's gotten worse. Part of the reason why communications are so bad. So then Ferris, trying to handle things on her own, bless her. Well, Karine is stuck in there, and the alien officially pops out of Ledward while they're locked in there together. And then she slips on all the blood that's happened, makes sense, and she's trying to defend herself, but it comes and attacks her. Ferris realizes what's happening, brings a shotgun, and I laughed at this part.
It is a TV. It's a movie version of Rolling a Natural One.
Because I think I laughed because I didn't expect them to choose to use the same exact like stunt twice.
Yeah.
Because Kareen slips on the blood and then Ferris comes back, slips on the blood, and shoots the shotgun.
But so much worse.
I know. She shoots the shotgun into the ceiling, and then the alien is now aware of her presence after having attacked her. Go ahead.
Like I was just saying, I was like, man, you know what? I could see why they would make her slip on the blood, because it's like, man, it'd be a real hard sell. Like, hey, let's have Ferris go up and blast the alien with the shotgun. Oh wait, it's in Ferris, or not Ferris, in Kareen's face. That might, we're okay aliens ripping humans apart, but straight up shooting another character's face off with a shotgun, maybe not.
So then Ferris runs off and tries to shut the door behind her, but then she shuts it on her ankle, slowing her further. But it does at least shut on the alien. And we find out they have super indestructible foreheads.
Yes.
Which is used a lot in the movie.
They're hammerheads.
Yeah. So then he bashes through the glass, the strong little baby boy, and he goes after Ferris. And before she can really get distress calls to warn everybody else about it, because she's also trying to say, like, I saw something come out. Captain Oram, please hurry up. Get back here. I need your help. I need people. They're dealing with, oh my God, what is his name? Hallett also being sick from this. And they're like, hold him down. We need to make sure he's okay. Yeah. And then the worst version of the alien being born is back from whence it came.
Hello.
But yes, that one comes out of his mouth. And that one seems to be like, the one out of Bloodward was born more kind of like curled up on itself. And then the one that came out of Hallett was like tubed out.
Yeah, the one that came out of Hallett was ready to just mess people up.
Yeah, and everyone's freaking out. And then poor Captain Oram's like, I don't know what to tell.
Yes.
Rightfully so. He's freaking out because in his heart of hearts, it was his idea to come down here. Mm-hmm. And then while they're trying to figure out what's going on with all their laser pointing guns, because it's getting dark out, everyone screams Daniels, and I was gonna say Wyatt. Walter protects her and goes, eat my hand instead.
Yeah. So, well, did we mention the escape ship exploding? Because that happens before this.
Oh, is that right before? I thought it was right after.
Because, well, at that point, the two, which I looked up on the wiki, they call them neomorphs. I think that's what they call them.
The in-between stage.
Yeah, well, it's the white xenomorphs. They call them neomorph. Neomorph bloodburster, or bloodburster, a different thing. I don't know. Don't care. Yeah, the ship explodes because that's why Oram's just like, my wife was on that ship. And like he's like stunned, and they're like, wake up, Oram. Like, we gotta go. To where I wrote, I don't think his wife made it.
Yeah, I don't think she made it either. Oh, wait, I forgot some notes for myself because I was just talking about factually what was happening. One of the notes I wrote for myself was, would everything have gone better if they had floor slippery when wet signs? I
don't think they had time to get it up.
Yeah.
That's a lawsuit.
How strong is this baby that I can slam its head through glass, which I kind of mentioned. I did not enjoy that they gave them monkey noises.
Yeah.
And then yes, you're right, the explosion does happen first, because I wrote, man, the destruction this one little guy has done is insane. Oh no, a second one is sprinting around. And then I wrote, is Ridley Scott obsessed with making people into widows?
Or widowers. Yeah.
Because he's killed Ferris, who's married to Tennessee.
Yeah.
He's killed, I don't remember his name because he's hardly in the movie, but Daniel's husband. Now they've killed Kareen, which is Oram's wife. And then yes, the one goes to attack Daniels while they're distracted by the explosion of the ship. And then Walter's hand gets ripped off, and it karate chops him across the field.
Yeah, to where I wrote, Walter is helping? Weird.
Weird. Then you have not Walter in his creepy Jedi getup.
Oh, I want to write what I wrote, which is David became Aragorn.
With his hair.
His hair. He shoots light in the sky. He's just like, follow me if you want to live.
Yeah, this arc I wrote, they trust a stranger with their lives.
Yeah, I would at that point, to be perfectly honest.
I said, "Oh God, is that David trying to save the day dressed as a creepy Jedi? Because he has a full-on cloak and you don't see him, and he's like whoosh. He's very whoosh when he runs around in the cloak."
Yeah, to where I think I wrote this a little bit later, and I'm like, wait, milk bots can grow hair?
I think they imply that in Prometheus because he does dye his hair in the time that he's alone. And the only reason you would dye your hair is if it grows in a different color. Because you notice the grown out hair, it's brown at the top and blonde before he, yes, we'll get there. And then
story reasons.
Then they wander, David leaves them into a main city area where, wow, there's a lot of bodies. Yeah. And it looks very similar to what happened to the aliens in the Prometheus ship. Yeah. Or not the Prometheus ship, but the ship that they find in Prometheus, where everyone's kind of gathered and trying to get away, but they're all kind of carbonized? Yeah. Is that the best way to describe it?
Yeah, that's a good way. It's like Pompeii.
Yeah, and as they were walking through a lot of the buildings, once he brings them past all the like dead bodies, I was like, wow, the older civilization really liked carving themselves into giant statues. They have giant heads
big
in the one meeting room. Yeah.
I think I wrote Orb Town because everything was balls.
Yes, it was very round and oriented like that. I wrote then David is as creepy as ever because David asks to talk to Walter on the side as he calls him his brother, which I guess in theory he is because they're both by Wayland Corporation. Mm-hmm. And I'm like trying to think of where we are because there's a lot of stuff that happens here. Yeah, but I wrote down note to self: are we gonna get a chance to watch some robot v robot action? So this is where I put it. Mm-hmm. And then I wrote, why did they give Michael Fassbender so much chemistry with himself? Hey, look, if David's gonna have any chemistry with anybody, it's going. Well, actually, there's a different kind of action later. Unfortunately. But yes, so because at this point we have a really long-winded segment of David and Walter explaining why they're different as robots, but they do it by playing music together in a very sensual way. Yep. Because he has like a flute, and then he does the whole put your mouth together. Here, I'll use my fingers as you use your mouth. And then it's just like, I was like, this is really long, Ridley Scott. What was the point of this scene? So there's a few things, like I also want to talk about that. But I think before this is when David shares on how he got to the planet, because it has that flashback, I think, of when they land. I don't know if they have I thought the flashback was right after this because I have a note about his flashback. Or are you saying what he tells the party happened? Because he tells them one story. Oh, yes. It's a different... Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's there. And like, so this is because I remember he's just like, he mentions that like on the trip, Shaw dies. And I was like, wait a second. If Shaw died, how, like on the way there, how could she have recorded the song? And I was like, I remember it was like there was something where I think he's like, yeah, she died on the way or something like that, or like shortly after. He says a tragic accident happened when they landed, causing the contagion to get out. Is his phrasing. Mm-hmm. And like I just remember like the way he said that, I was like, wait a second, if that's the case, then how did she have enough time to casually sing a song while landing the ship? And fix David and like everything going on. But anyway, there was that. And then what I wrote, like pretty much the David and Walter interaction was like, David is like the way he's built is more like the philosopher / scientist, where he wants to see the end of like his goals. Well, Walter's more like a blue collar worker that's just like, I don't know, man. Just yeah, because they do a lot of emphasis where Walter says, you creeped people out. And David's like, I'm not creepy. I'm so smart. I like art. He's like, yeah, that's why you're so creepy, David. You should maybe tone it down. He's like, tone it down. They made me this way. And Walter's like, I'm just trying to like help people. And he's like, you love her, don't you? And he's like, I don't know what love is. Yeah. I know what duty is. Yeah, it's so this is what I wanted to mention a little bit later, like with the interactions between David and
and Walter.
Not David.
Yeah, David. Yeah. I think it was really interesting. Like, I don't know. It's not a big thing, but it's like I think I'm only noticing it because I watched Prometheus and then Covenant pretty much back to back, and Fassbender does a really good job where Walter and David, like, their behaviors and interactions and the way they even talk to each other and other people is different, but then also their walks are also different. Like, it's, you see it like in the beginning, because like when Walter walks, his like shoulders are more up and he's like I don't
robotic.
know. Yeah, like you can't really see it, but it's just like his arms are like, oh. Like he's got like the tough guy walk. And while David is like, it feels like Walter's making himself look bigger than he actually is, while Walter's making himself look bigger than he actually is when he walks, and like is trying to look not intimidating, but like physically
clearly not the same as everybody else in
like
the room.
Yeah, but he's like he's giving off like I am, like, I do have power, or I am powerful. While David is, the way he walks and interacts, like he still turns and walks like an android, like the pathing and all that, but he like his posture and mannerism is just like it feels like he's making himself, at least in Prometheus, weaker. In this one, he's just like, I've been alone for so long and I don't care. He pretty much like teleports around everywhere. Just like, I'm here.
And in Prometheus, they do mention that Wayland designed David, who is, I don't know if they say the earliest, but one of the early ones, to be very human-like so that he can assimilate with people. Yeah. Like, so that people can forget that he's a robot. And then
and they bring Walter, that in a little bit later, too.
Yeah, then Walter is just like, no, people would prefer if there was like a border so that it's obvious to people what is robot and what is human. Because, you know, uncanny valley and all that type of stuff. But yes, then we have David's actual flashback. Is there anything you want to say before we get into this part?
I think, at least to in my notes, we have the quick scene of the captain self-reflecting and, like, rather than blaming everybody, which I'm like, that was a neat scene. It, like, in the moment I thought it was neat. In reflection, I was like, probably would have had more weight to it if there was like more like understanding of these characters, because it's like,
yeah, and Daniels even goes and says like, no, we need your faith to help get us through this. I was like, oh right, he's the faith-based captain. I honestly forgot.
Yeah. And so it's it just feels like one of those things where I'm like, man, because like out of like, even including for the majority of the Predator movies, like, I think this cast of Covenant, I'm like, you know what, I would have liked to see more of them. Like, I would like to
get developed more as characters.
Like, I understand in a movie they don't have enough time to do that, but it's just like, I don't know, I think it would just be interesting to like see them come together as a team, and like, did they do other missions, like space missions or something like that? I don't know. It's like the main core of this group, I think, is really cool. But
they feel like a solid crew together. Yeah,
like you can tell they all trust each other, and it's not like Alien, where some of them are like just contract based, and like Prometheus, where there's just like they are all contractors, and like they're only
like 4 or 5 of them really know. Like, there's pockets of people that know
cliques.
each other.
And they're all cliques, and then but like this one is like, no, like there is a little bit of tension, which is rightfully earned at the beginning because their captain just died and like the ship is broken and everything. But it's like everyone's like, no, we don't blame you. It's like everybody was thinking the same thing except for one person of coming here, and like so. I don't know. I do like how even with the short snippets of this whole crew interacting with each other, I thought it felt more grounded.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also saw the time, so we probably should, because you got to leave soon, don't you?
Well, I gave myself like a half hour. You know,
Okay.
like I said, like if we aim to finish by 1 to 1:30, I think my company is coming at 2.
Okay.
So it's not such like a hard and fast. But
Yeah,
I
well,
would prefer to finish by 1:30 to give myself
Yes.
time to like.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like, we're not going to go into the deep philosophical. Like, I don't know. I feel like I would have to watch the David and Walter talks because I do find that really interesting. Even though it's just like, hey, want an indirect kiss? Just like, it's like at this moment.
But I mean, like even without the time constraint, we have been chatting for an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah. So,
So let's get a scooting.
yeah.
So
Fortunately,
then
things go fast after this.
Yeah. David has flashbacks to war crimes.
Where I think I just summed up, man, he really held a grudge for getting his head ripped off.
So like I knew David was a bad guy, but like I was surprised that he committed a whole war crime, and I even rewound it and was like, "Hey Strider, am I supposed to like be surprised that the evil guy from the first movie committed a war crime?" He's like, "What kind of war crime?" And I showed the scene. He was like, "Wait, that's a really populous city. Wait, what is that gunk?" I was like, "It's the bioengineered weapon that they made that he decided to put back on them." And he went, "That's a lot of people." I was like, "Yeah, it is."
They didn't put the Geneva Convention in the milk
In space. It's funny because like sometimes in like fantasy games they'll be like, oh, there's no Geneva Convention, so there's no war crimes for this like in fantasy settings. This is 2100. The Geneva Convention definitely existed. Whether or not it's upheld in space, I cannot say.
There's probably like the Geneva Convention too for weird alien garbage.
Yes. They're gonna have to rewrite one for all this. But then
David is the reason they had to rewrite it.
So then we have Rosenthal, I think it was her name. Yes, Rosenthal is cleaning up her wounds from fighting one of the younger aliens to turn around and get jump scared by an adult alien. And I wrote, imagine you're just like taking care of your wounds from one alien to turn around and see that it's grown exponentially and it's just like, right behind you.
Dumb.
So now,
one thing I wrote was like, I don't know why, but white xenomorphs look way more gross. Offsetting.
It feels to me like there should be like googly eyes on it, but there aren't.
and the other thing I wrote is like the white ones, which I think in this wiki, I don't know if this is actually what they're called, neomorphs. Which I don't know.
I mean, they take on the traits of the Prometheus, right? Or not the Prometheus, the engineers.
Engineers, yeah. Hold on, there's another thing called bloodbursters. Okay, the infant form of them are apparently called bloodbursters. I don't remember.
That's probably just because they're born, because it burrows into the skin and they're born of blood versus like necessarily a consistent place, which we'll get there.
But yeah, what the other thing is that I was gonna write is that like the adult versions, there we go. If my phone turns back on, is they seem way less like bestial in nature. Like they
do seem to be thinking, and this is a note that I wrote. I said, "Oh, is David gonna make out with an engineer alien hybrid?"
Oh, he looked like he was getting ready.
Yeah, he looked like he was getting ready to. So basically, what happens is the captain and happens upon David trying to like. He calls it like horse whispering to the alien, where he's trying to communicate with it and it's acting calmly and it's looking at him, and Captain Oram is like, shoot it, and he shoots it and he like kills it, and David's like, no, how could you do that? and then you get, that's when you start to get the hints of like, oh god, David, what have you done?
Yeah, well, what I wrote was like, man, David's reaction to broken trust is pure comedy.
It's so extreme. And I also wrote for myself, David can't stop being evil for 2 seconds, can he? Because then you start to get the reveal of, I think it's Walter. It finds all of his research, and David walks in and he's like, do you like my bestiary? Do you like what I've done? Do you like it, Walter? Walter, tell me you like it, Walter. Walter, tell me I'm smart. And Walter's just like, or no. or is he telling the captain this? No. Captain is a little bit later. Captain trusts him a little bit later.
No, because after he shoots the white xenomorph, he takes him to the pods.
It's the captain he's telling him, yes. So then, yes, he's basically looking for approval from the captain that his collected bestiary of, because he has like face huggers in jars, he has little tiny versions under microscopes, he has like...
that's after he does the thing with the captain. Because that's when we find Shaw.
Oh, right. It is after. But I just wrote a note that says Captain is too trusting after he finds out.
Well, at that point, if I remember the line correctly, he's like, David, you need to tell me the truth. What's going on? And David's just like, fine. To where I summed up, well, glad to see that David never changed.
Yeah, David really didn't change.
Which I think, and this is what we were talking about before we started recording, I think our biggest issue with the movie is that xenomorphs were created by David and not just some weird space garbage.
And fully engineered and everything. And we even, I think I forgot to mention the other important thing where in some of the David Walter talks, or this might be a little bit later, but at one point in their conversations, because like you said, this movie happens really fast and it has a lot of jumps between things. Mm-hmm. There's also a scene where David and Walter are over Elizabeth Shaw's grave, and like David is doing a lot of like being sad and stuff.
Yeah,
but Walter.
It's a little bit earlier, I think.
Yeah, and then Walter does find Elizabeth's body and all that post experimentation and lots of bad stuff. But it all culminates to David saying to the captain, "Here, I want to show you something in the basement that I've been working on." And I wrote the captain is way too trusting.
Yeah.
And then we see the classic eggs from the original Alien movies. And then you're like, oh, God, this can't be good. And then David's like, go on, open it. And the captain's like this? And he opens it. And David's like, go on, look inside. I was like, oh, God, Captain, don't do it. And Captain looked inside. He was like, oh, that's gross. And David's like, look closer. I was like, it's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. Everybody knows it's going to happen.
Well, and he was just like, oh, mother, waiting for mother. Where, yeah, because at this point, I wrote a note and it just says, nah, Maggie got what she earned. I'm like, who the heck is Maggie?
Who's Maggie?
I don't know. Like, I'm looking through here and it's like, was Maggie somebody's first name? Hold on, what was the girl's name that got wrecked? Rosenthal. Does it have her first name? Sarah.
No, Rosenthal was the lady that was just cleaning her arms.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out who the heck Maggie is. Like, I'm like, what did I write here?
Because we have...
Wait, what was Orm's first name? Chris Orm. No, what? Like, I'm looking through here and I'm like, I wrote something in here saying, nah, Maggie got what she deserved. And
Maggie's a production secretary at the cast and crew. There's no Maggie in the movie.
I'm like, I'm trying to figure out, it's been too long. I don't know what I wrote because this is right before.
Maggie is the first name of Ferris, but did she do something that is not good?
I think this is when, because this is later. I remember why I wrote this because there's moments where they're able to contact and we see what's happening up in Covenant, and Tennessee is like, he's like, no man, there's no way my wife would have ran away or done, like, she's
never been scared
and like he's constantly having like his own like thing about going down to the planet.
Try and force it, yeah.
And they're just like, no, and just like, I gotta go save Maggie. And it's just like, because at this point, like, they tell him that she died, and he's like, no, man, there's no way. Like, and he's getting all mad. And, like, and that's why I wrote, nah, because like he doesn't call her whatever her last name is. He keeps calling her Maggie at that point. And I was like, no, Maggie kind of got what she deserved. Like, she blew up the ship.
Well, it's not like I don't know. It wasn't like as terrible as like
as...
some of the other sci-fi movie like deserved deaths.
Yeah, I don't know. This was also getting close to 1:00 in the morning when I wrote that. So,
all right, but yes. So then we have the captain gets face hugged, and so that's the whole bringing everything together. That David is the ultimate creator at this point.
Yeah, and when he mentioned mother, I'm glad. Okay, this is something that didn't come true, but it was like my first thought that came in. It was like, no, don't tell me they're making Shaw to be the mother, like mother xenomorph or queen xenomorph, and I'm like,
kinda.
It was like, but it was like I was expecting. Oh no, is she big?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know that does become a plot point in the further Alien movies, but I don't remember them very well.
Yeah.
But, and then I wrote, nice, answers for even more questions I never had about the alien species. Then the one that is birthed from Aurum is the alien very much as we know it in the current film series, like the most up-to-date film series.
Well, it is a xenomorph, right?
It's the final form of the xenomorph.
Yeah.
Which, all in all, doesn't connect with the plot lines of Alien versus Predator.
Yeah, well, we also
they say that
they're non-canon.
Because they said they existed. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Before I break my brain trying to connect all the timelines.
No, like, it's just easier to say AVP is not canon. Or, even though they wanted these two things to exist, I guess, here's a good way of putting it. The Alien universe is its own thing, and then in the Predator universe, aliens always existed.
Well, it's also that Wayland Corporation is a big benefactor in both universes.
Yep. So,
that's another connecting force. I've heard it's done well in comics.
Oh, yeah. I
bringing the two together.
I wouldn't doubt it. It's just I don't feel like reading
yeah,
all them.
That's fair. But yes, so then I wrote in capital letters, David, you need to get consent.
Yeah.
And then I wrote...
I wrote, that's why milk pots don't kiss.
And then I wrote, not for killing people, I guess. You don't need consent for that one.
Well, no, you probably should get consent for that, too.
Get consent for that one. But yeah, so he goes in and he I forget what the speech was, but I was like, I was joking. I didn't want them to kiss. And then David just goes in and Walter's just like, what is... I don't know what this is.
He had very much a blue collar response, like, I didn't care, what are you doing? and then he recoiled.
Yeah, and then they get he gets murderfied, but then as soon as David leaves the room, we see the wound seal shut. So again, the same problem I had with Prometheus, where I feel like they showed one too many scenes so that things that were supposed to be exciting later don't feel as exciting. Anyway, so then I wrote the next plot point is they lingered for too long because everyone is looking for the captain. I mean, naturally, they want to find Aurum so they can all leave. They finally get an escape plan coordinated with Tennessee, who is able to get the ship close enough to get communications better and to drop down a cargo bay for them to get back onto the main ship. So... as they're trying to save the captain, they run into the xenomorph. Lode gets face hugged, but what was the other guy's name that was in the landing party? I know you mentioned it. Rix.
Anchor?
Oh, no, not Rix. Yeah, Anchor. Anchor?
Anchor.
Or was it
There's
Cole?
Yeah.
It was Cole. So Cole tries to help him by cutting it off, but then acid gets all over Lode's face, and they're freaking out. And... while looking for the captain, Daniels is discovering all of these like scrolls that David wrote up.
Yes.
Of like the progress of like how the alien enters the body, all this stuff, and then drawings of like Shaw, which we saw when Walter like lifted up a thing and saw Shaw's body. Then we have
Shaw really didn't get a break.
David is like, you see what happened to Shaw? You're next. And then he tries to kiss her.
Smoochy time.
I was like, David, please, consent.
David just was... There's a reason why he was excommunicated to a planet, man. Like, he just trying to smooch on everybody.
I know. And then Walter is like, they do robo fight.
Yeah, it's pretty much, superheroes are hot. Let's do that.
Yeah, punch, stab, pull, various things.
That being said, like Daniels, she got thrown around a bunch. There's no way she doesn't have broken bones. Like,
at least it wasn't Shaw who had like open surgery
Yes.
2 minutes before.
Yes,
Being thrown around.
Seriously, if anyone was gonna live out of this alien universe, it should have been Shaw. Like,
yeah, her pain tolerance extreme.
Yeah.
Extremely good.
like how did David must have drugged her. It's like, but at the same time, I don't understand. Like, it's like, you figure she would have learned her lesson. Why didn't you just keep him head?
Keep them separated, yeah.
And you gotta keep it separated.
So then, amidst the robot fight, we have this whole dramatic scene of David reaching out for a knife, and then it kind of fades to black.
Yeah.
And then we jump back to the rest of the party. The rest of the party is really just
Three
Daniels
people.
and Load,
And
and then Tennessee picks them up.
there's one more. And then
Walter shows back
yes,
up, just in the nick of time to get on the ship. He doesn't say much, and I wrote a note. That's not Walter, is it? As soon as he showed up.
It's like no duh. Like, it was like because even at that point, it's because I remember as soon as he shows up, it's like, even though he's not talking,
his hair is wrong.
Well, his whole behavior is different because Walter doesn't wait. Walter, like, whenever the humans were in trouble, he stepped in.
Yeah, he was always a step forward.
Yes.
But also, the thing I forgot to mention is, I kind of implied it. David does cut his hair at one point, and
yes, yeah.
he has short brown hair, very much like Walter. But Walter, the whole time, even through all the chaos, his hair is always like gelled back to the point where it doesn't move.
Mm-hmm.
But when Walter makes it back to the cargo ship, it's like tussled.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, it's David.
Yeah.
But yes, yes, he does hesitate a lot, and then he does cause some physical harm because like he's helping Load with his face at one point.
To where I wrote, that patch be sus.
Yeah, and then he pulls it off, and then he's like, Load's like, how does it look? And
he's like, not
Walter's like, it's fine.
It's fine.
And it's like smacks him and pushes it into his face, and he's like, ugh, that hurts.
Yeah. The only other thing I wrote is when Tennessee showed him, it's like, well, now look at that boss arena.
Oh yeah, it looks like a boss arena. And then also, like I mentioned, she throws down a beacon for them, and I thought it would have been cool if the movie ended where they couldn't get off the planet, and that beacon on that planet was the beacon that was, for Alien. But then I remembered on Alien, they go back to the engineer ship, right? They're on an engineer ship with the beacon.
Yeah, and it's like, that weather was too nice.
It was too clear. So then we have a very long scene of them trying to get this alien off of the cargo ship because it hitches a ride while they're flying up. Ultimately cultivating and then using the crane for cargo to try and smush and cage up the alien.
I thought that was interesting. Like, I thought it was cool, like, the whole
It was
thing.
a neat idea. It just felt very long, or whenever it was kind of too slow paced for it to be an action scene for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I also made a note like, oh, they're not scared of fire yet, because he like hits it with the thrusters from the ship. But in original Alien, aren't they scared of fire from flamethrowers?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been newborn adrenaline.
It could have been, but I also wrote her plot armor is very strong because once they finally Tennessee says if he lets off the cargo crane, it's gonna make the ship very unbalanced and very hard to control. And she was like, "We got to do it anyway to get this alien like away from me." And he's like trying to pilot it, and it's crashing everywhere, and she's dangling by a rope.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, is she smushed? And then she's just running on the ground.
Yep.
I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, it's, oh man, like, I feel like besides David and Walter, all these other humans, like, we don't spend enough time with. Like, at least with Shaw, we spent enough time to, like, understand at least her out of everyone of the ship. But it's just, like, there's too many characters where it's just, like, it's like there's like it's one of the things where like Daniels, we switch scenes with her so much where it's like she pretty much is the one in charge by the end of the movie, but it's just like, oh, okay.
Like, because she was second in command, but Orm was in charge, because that's why she sits him down in the beginning to say, like, hey, I don't agree with your decision. I'm second in command. But Orm's like, majority vote, though.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to go down. Yeah.
And then, oh, yeah. So, it's what it is.
Any other notes for that cargo ship stuff?
No, that's pretty much it. Like, it's an action scene, and, like, it was, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, man, this big hint thing, I don't know. I wish I could think of what could have been done different that would maybe make it better, but let's finish the movie and we can see where we're at with time.
Yeah. So then they're back on the ship, and they're all chilling and relaxing when
Walter. Walter. I wanted to share the one line, but yeah, say whatever, Walter.
I was going to say Walter is just creepily watching people on footage, which looks very familiar to Prometheus, but you can go ahead.
Well, we find out there's a xenomorph on the ship.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was getting to, because...
go ahead.
Walter calls Daniels to say, Medbay alert, Medbay alert, there is something foreign on the ship.
Yeah. Now, what I thought it was originally going to be is that Mother was reading David being the foreign object.
That would have been... There were a lot of things that I was like, oh, I hope this is... And it wasn't. And I was like, okay.
I'm like, that... I was like... Because they have to have different, like, signature codes or whatever it is. I'm like, that would...
find out they do. Well, he has at least a unique security code in the end.
Yeah, and so it's just like, oh, man, that would have been so interesting. Like, if that was the case. But, yeah, there's Xenomorph, and to where I wrote, well, the Xenomorph follows the Jason rules where no bonding time.
Yeah, I wrote, I did not expect the horror movie trope of you do the deed, you get the dead.
Did he just, like, run out of, like, ideas? Or
I don't know.
Or, I don't know, like, or was that, like, a producer thing? Like, nah, man, we gotta have some naked bodies in here.
I guess. It's been a long time since I, like, even when we watched horror movies last year, that really only happened in what, like...
Well, we had a weird list.
Yeah, but I just mean...
I know what it... Well, I was like, I know what it wasn't in, and then I remembered the end of the movie.
But yes, and then the thing that... And then they did this interesting, like, maze-like sequence where they were opening and closing doors to try and trap it into a location, which I appreciated. I was surprised that
it worked.
Walter followed along.
Yes.
It felt very out of character that he followed along.
Well,
but he ends up getting what he wants.
He had his goal. He had his goal. Because in the beginning of the movie, David's like, where'd you come from? And then it was that part. It's like, David didn't change. He's asking, like, oh, where'd you guys come from? He's like, oh, we're colonists. Like, oh, man, is it just you guys? No, we got a ship up above. Like, oh, how many people? About 2,000. Oh. And it's just like, it's like, evil plans.
All coming together. So, yes, the thing that I really disliked is they bothered to do an alien point of view. I don't know what that was supposed to give me as a viewer.
I don't know.
It didn't add to anything. Like, at least when you have the Predator point of view in the Predator series, it's to show that it's a completely different view set and that they're observing something specific. This was just veiny footage of the same doors that they were already showing us.
2017. I'm trying to think if that's when 3D, like, was fun.
Was this in 3D?
I don't know. But, like, I could see that being, like, one of those 3D scenes.
There are a lot of other scenes that could be a lot better in 3D for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Why Alien Covenant was not shot in 3D, despite Ridley Scott wanting to use the format. So maybe he wrote it in hoping to use it, and they said don't.
And then he snuck that one in.
Yeah. So let's see. And then I wrote, then they eventually get it to the cargo bay, which is in the very beginning of the movie, where Daniels was originally showing off, like, the trucks and talking about how she wants to... Oh, important plot point. In the very beginning, she's talking to Walter about how she wants to build a log... She wanted to build a log cabin with her husband on a lake. So those trucks come back into play, where she's like, I'm going to trap it on the truck, But she didn't realize that they have hammerheads of steel, so it starts to break through the glass. So they start dropping more trucks out of the bay and out of the chute so that it falls into space very slowly.
Yeah, and then you shish kebab.
Yes, and then she jumps off at the ship at like the last second. I don't know where she was on the ship. I didn't understand.
And
I thought she fell into space to sacrifice herself, and then she just goes,
it's like, I'm back.
LOL, everything's good, T. LOL.
Yeah. And Tennessee's like, I'm losing everybody. Because at this point, they're the only two left.
They're the only two left. I did write that the alien got its own private Uber into space.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all get to go night time. They go back into their sleeping pods for their plans to go to the terraformed planet. And as Daniels is being put under, she's like, "You're going to help me build that cabin, Walter?" And Walter just stares blankly. And I was like, yeah, because it's Walter.
Yeah.
And she goes, "David, no!" And then goes to sleep.
And that's when I wrote, wow, who saw that coming?
Who would have thought?
And then he
And I wrote,
plays his favorite song.
He plays his favorite song, and he uses his own private security code to put little baby aliens next to all the embryos.
Yeah. He's like,
Because he pukes them.
Yep.
Normal David things.
Yeah. Man. I wonder if David is in, like... Because I can't remember. Because I remember Alien, but I don't remember the other Alien movies. And I'm like, is Alien, like... Is there an android named David somewhere in there that is just like...
I don't recall. Bishop is the one in the
Bishop is in the
original
first
Alien.
one.
I believe he's the same one in 2. I didn't watch 3 or what's the last one, Resurrection.
Yeah. So, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I've watched Aliens.
Well, this will be fun in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But yes, we've been talking about this movie for almost an hour, 40 minutes. Is there any last words before we say goodbye to the audience?
I think just to reiterate, I can't remember if this is something we said before or on air. I think we both agree Prometheus and Covenant would make very good standalone movies on their own and not part of, like, they're good movies, but the fact that it's like explaining where the xenomorphs came from, like the fact that they were manufactured, is like, it kind of takes the scariness out of the xenomorphs a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
like,
I would have been okay if it was still like an accident and not like
perfectly engineered
yes.
from start to finish. Yeah. And here's me bringing it all back together where you were kind of talking about the fish thing. Yeah, there's something to be said about the fear of the unknown, right? Like, space is vast and huge, and the only thing that we have that's kind of close to it is like fears of the ocean, because the ocean in itself is also huge. And I swear, every time they're like, "Hey, we got footage from like the deepest part of the ocean," I'm like, I hate it. I put it back. I wish I never knew that thing existed. So, which serves very well with Alien as a species in space, because it's even bigger and even scarier. Of course, there are going to be things that are crazier out there. But now it's like, I guess it's not crazy because it's all
man-made
on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, again, I think I would have been okay with it if the xenomorphs were like, if they kept
They
like,
started out as a plan, but then got out of control.
yes. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I still think the end of the movie would have been interesting if it's just like Mother was like, "Hey, there's a weirdo on here, and it's a David."
Is a David. But yeah.
So
No, overall, like, good movie. I did like this better than Prometheus.
I rated it the same. Like, I gave them the same score. Like, I think they work together well in my head. Like, they
work together well. I think I just like the pacing in Covenant better than in Prometheus.
It is faster. Like, Like,
But not so
well,
much-
not faster, but it's not like.
Yeah, it's structured in a more like natural way for the way the story is
It
progressing.
builds. Yeah.
Yeah, it builds in a normal way. I did not think the ending had to be like a half hour long, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you everyone for listening this far. We always appreciate it. Double appreciate any ratings, reviews, comments. Triple appreciate interacting with us at Twitter at twitter.com/pointlessdisco. Especially if we miss your ratings or reviews, we want to give you shout outs. And quadruple appreciate. Yes, quadruple if you share us with friends, families, enemies, coworkers, teachers, principals, assistants,
Smooching
interns.
robots,
Get consent before you smooch.
please. Yeah, and next week is Alien. We'll see if it gets another 10 out of 10. Bye-bye!